So it's my pleasure to introduce Benjamin Protais, who is head of the consulting unit at a company called Business and Decision. He's in the Geneva office. And Benjamin is the perfect guest speaker for our series here because he has vast experience in IT governance and is a specialist in data and IT organization. And before his current position, he was actually in charge of digital transformation of a consumer brand at Yves Rocher. And today, Benjamin will tell us about the power of data. And I'm especially looking forward to sort of hearing his war stories about digital transformation processes at traditional firms, sort of kind of like a historical perspective. At least that's what I'm looking for. But also, you know, Benjamin, you're the boss. You can decide what you're going to share with us. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I'm very much looking forward to your talk. The floor is yours. Usually we do it that the guest speakers take questions in between because, you know, it's otherwise it's relatively boring to be talking to a screen. We also are a very active and interactive group. Usually we have quite a lot of questions and very interesting questions. So if that's okay for you, then I would suggest that we proceed in that way.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So,
all right.
My pleasure.
So let me stop sharing.
And I will try.
And then the floor is really yours.
Screen, I guess, share. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. So, hello everyone, I'm Benjamin Protais. So, I live in Neuchâtel. So I work in Geneva most of the time, but I live in Neuchâtel. I'm a French guy coming from France. And I'm very, very glad to be here. Since about 12 years, I animate listen in university or whatever. So I love that. So I'm very happy to be here to speak about the managing the digital economy or digital transformation for traditional companies. And I will focus on data, the power of data. Just to as a brief introduction, just not to tell from myself for our news, but it's important to say that I am definitely not a digital guy. I am not a digital native. I am not a geek, but I discovered this world in the real world, and I have to transform a company and to transform myself. So my topics today to bring you some advice to say how traditional companies are able to face the new digital economies. So it's why it is the subject I sell to my customer, because I am not a digital guy. I know how to help you to transform yourself if you are not a digital guy. It's my way of working. And I am very often acting as CDO for Chief Digital Officer in traditional company by interim to start the organization of the company. And when the company is enough mature, they can hire the internal CDO. So it's my way of working. I start the work. As said Christian, I worked 21 years in IT governance, and I was between 2005 and 2015, I guess, CIO of a brand of Yves Rocher, who made an internal transformation. And it was very, very interesting to work in this subject. And I use a lot what I've learned during this transformation in my day-to-day life today. So, a brief. Do we have a break, Christian, during the session, or?
Yeah. So usually we do a break after 45 minutes.
Okay.
And then maybe 10 minutes break, but we're very flexible on that.
Okay. So I will introduce the subject by a story. I love the story. I have 4 children and I love to tell stories. So a little stories. And after, because I guess it's a big stake, I will give you my definition of digital transformations. Because as all buzzword, everybody has his own definitions. So I give you my definitions, and I guess with these definitions, we are able to understand why companies face some complexity, because we don't have the same definitions. And after, we will make a focus on 2 subjects. The cultural issues in the company. It's a huge work to animate the digital transformation in a traditional company, and all the data subject, the data-driven subject. And as you will see, for me, data and digital are the two faces of a same reality. But I will prove you. I will show you. I don't know if I will prove you, but I will show you my vision on that. So, as Christian say, I work for business and decisions. The DNA of business and decision is data. Since about 30 years, and we start with integrated data solutions, 30 years old. And from data, we came to digital, and from integration, we came to consulting. So we work around the world, more precisely in Europe, in 11 countries in Europe. More than 20 to 200 people working on that. And with a huge experience on data. We can say that we tried to connect data and digital, and we acquire experiences in digital and in data, and to connect the two worlds to be able to have a whole experience, data and digital. We have also some enablers like change management, like project management, these kind of enablers, but digital and data, it's our business model, and to support company in their digital and data journey. We love to say that, yes, business and insurance, we work in the middle of the solution integrator and in the pure consulting company. We love to say that we are more pragmatic than the traditional consulting company and more business-oriented than pure integrators, to connect the dots between the visions, the strategy, and the integrations. And we try to be here. And for example, myself, I give advice for the company, but I also deliver missions for deliver solutions. So we try to be in the middle of this world to be able to have strategic visions, but also our capacity to deliver solutions in digital and data. So it's our focus, and I will speak a lot of that today, that data and digital are not separable. And during my introduction, I will show you why it is not separable. With the data, with the digital, you are able to collect a lot of data. For example, the GAFAM, for me, are specialists in digital, clearly, yes, but also expert in data. They are very expert in data. What is the business model of the GAFAM? They give you a service, a free services most of the time, but they collect your data. And with this data, they know you, and they're able to sell this knowledge for advertising, for example. So the digital part is less than the data part, and the knowledge of the customer, it at the heart of the business model of the GAFAM. The collection of data to know the users, it's the heart of the GAFAM business model. So digital and data are very linked, and for us, it's the same world. It is the introduction. Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting, and feel free to push my question to later if you're going to have the answer on one of your slides. What is it precisely what you mean when you say digital? Is it the interfaces through which firms can speak to consumers? Is it internal processes that are running on IT, or how can I think of digital in what you're describing?
I will describe later. So I push later this question. Very, very good. What is digital? Very, very good questions. I will answer. If I didn't answer, come back to me. Yeah. So my story. One day, something changed. I love this story. Once upon a time, very simple relationship. We have two guys, face-to-face. It's a physical meeting. They can exchange, etc. It is a traditional meeting. We know since years and years, everybody meets everybody. On Wednesday, something changed. So here you have an event in 25, an event. And 8 years later, something changed. It's pretty the same event, perhaps. Like a show, a meeting, I don't know. Something changed. What changed? The way of the people are leaving the meeting. They are digitalize the meeting. They transform a real life into a digital life by pictures, by video, by online broadcasting. I don't know, something changed. And the same event, few years later, changed deeply. I love to say they start to digitalize the life. They start to change an online presential sessions into an online one. Something changed. To explain this change, we can sum up in 2 words, very easily 2 words. We start to be connected and very mobile. Another picture with a traditional couple, I guess a US couple, I don't know. The guy is chatting with his sport fans, trading his email, speaking with his file, watching TV at the same time. So it's our day-to-day life right now. Everybody have this kind of stuff connected. I love to say, if you are able to earn me during 1 hour without have a look on your mobile phone, you are a hero. So we are connected. It's our life. We are connected. And it's the life of everybody. If we can make some figure on that, and I guess it's important to know the figure about that. Here, it's a Digital 2020. It's a global digital overview made by a company. And every year they made a company with the figure of digital. And it's good to have in mind this kind of figures. We are about 8 billion people around the world, about 8 billion people, and more than 5 billion mobile phones. So the penetration rate is nearly 70%. So everybody have a smartphone right now. And we are more than 4 and less than 5 billion users for internet users. So we can say that with this figure, our world is very, very, very connected. And just a little less than 4 billion actively use social media. So some figures. But another figure on that. Perhaps you know this kind of figure. It's very, very often we can present these figures. It is what happened during 1 minute in internet. And the figures are huge. For example, in 1 minute in internet, you have more than 4 million research on Google, 1.3 million login in Facebook, but also I can say Twitter is not here. Yes, Twitter is here. 200,000 tweets in Twitter, etc. What is very interesting in this slide that since I guess 2013, I guess this firm Exelacom make these figures every year, and of course the figures are increasing, and of course each year we have some new entrants in this wheel. For example, I guess this year TikTok just entered this wheel, and last year I guess, if I remember, it was the smart speaker. So the figures are increasing and new entrants every year. So you can imagine, with this huge amount of activity in 1 minute, we create data. Behind each transactions, we create data. And what we love to say in BND, it is the beginning of the generation of data. We are here in 2020, but it will increase year after year, and it will accelerate the increasing. So we are at the start of the generation of data by our world. So the figures are huge, but it is the start. Why it is the start? Because we will use more and more IoT, connected object. My watch is connected right now, my smartphone is connected, my coffee machine, perhaps, I don't know. We will increase our IoT, and so we will increase our capacity to generate data. We have some figure here, so it's in French, but in 20, we have about 30 billion IoT connected objects. In 2025, we will have roughly 80 billion connected objects. It's some projection. If you have a look on the internet, you will have very different figure on that, but don't care. It's increasing. So we will connect. So we will more and more generate data. It's why for us, data and digital are very linked, because digital created data. And this data have a huge power. The GAFAM are here to prove it. If you are able to transform this data into value, into customer knowledge, for example, you are able to sell it. So it's why we say data is the new oil of the 21st century, a very famous sentence. And this data contains something that could be intimacy. For example, if I let you reflect 1 minute, what was your 3 or 4 last Google research? For myself, I have a daughter of 17 years old. Perhaps I have a look from how manage a girl of 27 years old. Do you see what I mean? So we bring to Google a part of our intimacy, because we request Google to have some questions about our intimacy, where we want to go, where we want to have the questions, etc., etc. And we also call it a part of digital transformations, because with our behavioring with digital, we are transforming a part of our intimacy into digital information. So it's the first definition, perhaps, to the digital transformations. Our behavioring and transform into knowledge, into data. It's a new world. When I was young, when I want to go somewhere, I take a map, paper map. Right now, without Google Map, I am not able to go anywhere. So it's a changing world. So we create information, we create data, and this data reflects a part of our intimacy. And I love to present it here. I will define digital after. But if we sum up digital by modern interfaces, like application, like website, etc., we can say that the digital part is a small part if we don't regarding the very huge part from data. Just I will give you a very simple example on that. The Google search web page is one single area to keep on information. But with that, you create a lot of data regarding your intimacy, the answer where you click, etc. So it's a very simple interface, but behind that, you have a lot of information generated. It's why I love these icebergs, in that for companies, digital and data are very linked. And I love also this line, because for companies, if they invest in digital, and I will say whatever, new website, creating some applications, transform a physical project into a digital project, robot in a firm, for example, or I have some paper, I transform it into a digital process, etc., etc. They have to handle the data part generated by this subject. And very often, the company use a lot of energy by creating new website, by being on the social network to create an Instagram pages, this kind of stuff, but clearly have under invest in the data part of this digital and data economy. And it's why the famous sentence we say that data is the oil of the 21st century. Why data could be the oil of the 21st century? Because if you take data, so you have a lot of information, you are able to run this data by machine learning or capacity to compute computing. On mathematics algorithms, you have transformed data into intelligence. It is IA. If you have data, capacity to compute on mathematics algorithm, you are able to predict something. You are able to to transform your raw data into a knowledge. It is our world. And it's why data is the oil of the 21st century, because the people able to have mathematics, mathematical algorithms plus capacity to compute, they can transform data into value. And it is the daily life of the GAFAM. So it's why data is the oil of the 21st century. So introductions, data, digital, two faces for the same reality. So I will start to answer these questions. Okay, data, digital, it's clear. But what is digital transformations? Everyone is talking about it, but what is behind this word, digital transformations? I love to use, when I start in the company, very often I start to define the words, because we use a lot of words in our world, a lot of buzzwords, data management, data governance, digital transformation, digitalization, etc., etc. But what does it mean? Back to basic. Let me to start with the Wikipedia definitions. Very, very simple. Digital transformation is a change associated with the application of the digital technology in all aspects of the human society. And the people start to read these definitions by that. Digital technologies. And it is why the companies have some big trouble with their digital transformations. If we change a little the word underlining, we can say that digital transformation is, first of all, a change. It's to manage a change. Manage a change in what? In all aspects of human society. So it changed deeply our vision on that. I was CIO during 10 years. I was an IT specialist, and I very quickly understand that all the digital transformation of the company will change the culture of the company. But it's not easy to change the culture of the company. And it's why I repeat to everybody that digital transformation is a change of the digital culture, of the culture of the company. So digital is like a tool, but it changed the company. And it's why a lot of companies face some trouble. We regarding the figure we can find in the analysis, between 60–70% of the company declare to have some problematics to transform themselves regarding the digital stakes. Why? Because they want to implement digital solution without having reflections on the change associated. I love this sentence from Ian Rogers. Ian Rogers was no more the chief digital officer at LVMH, because he changed a few months ago. I don't remember when, a few months ago, to go in the blockchain area. But this sentence was very, very good. Huh? The big moment for an organization is when they have embraced the fact that digital transformation is not a technical issue, but a cultural change. Okay, to animate the digital transformation of the company is to animate a cultural change. And I love this slide now. Why chief digital officer very often fail? The rate of burnout for CDO is huge in the world, because company believes that you have a huge digital on a small transformation, but in real life you have a small digital and a huge transformations. And we don't like to change. We don't like to be transformed. We like to use digital, but we don't like to transform. We have resistance to change. So animate a digital transformation around a traditional company. It's about animate a change. And it's my day-to-day life. I came back with my iceberg. So difference between digitalization and digital transformation is the same thing. I give you a very simple example. A few months ago, I was contacted by the company saying that I want to open a new channel with digital. It was a B2B company selling some components, technical components, and they want to open a sales channel online, worldwide, to sell to final customer, so a B2C change. And they request me to see how we'll animate that. We want to start to build a new e-commerce site, and we want to start to sell online. Very good. But we are here. The new e-commerce solutions, whatever the solutions, you will be able to sell online some product. Okay. But here, I give you a very simple example. Your business model is to sell products to partners. So you send thousands, hundreds, and thousands, I don't know, products to partners, and your partners will sell to the final customer. So your business model, your logistic, your supply chain is organized to deliver a huge amount of product to one partner. And right now, you will send one product to one client all around the world. So your transformation, it is not your e-commerce website. It is not the stake. Your transformation is to be how I will transform my supply chain to be able to send a single product all around the world. It's a supply chain subject. It is not a website project. And we start to work to be able to see if we are able to send a product all around the world, a single product, and what is the cost associated to that? Because it's very costly to send one product all around the world. So it's a business model. So we start to work on the business model with the capacity of the society to send product around the world. Do you see what I mean? The difference between digitalization is to transform a traditional process into a digital one. I sell product by shop. I am a retailer. It's a traditional. I want to open a new channel to sell my product, online channel. It is a digitalization of the process. Digital transformation is to acquire all the culture on that, to be able to know how to animate, how to sell, how to deliver by a digital channel. So the digitalization is the visible part of the iceberg. The digital transformation is all the transformation you had to handle in your company to be able to do it. I finish on that. So once again, what is digital transformations? A new website, implementation of a mobile, web plus mobile. We will open data management. We will deploy tools, data strategy. What we will do in the digital roadmap, we will do, I don't know, but we will define our digital strategy, to be able to handle all the change linked to the new digital area. So once again, digital transformation is the animation of a change, bringing by the digital transformation of the world. It's why I've started by that. We are connected, we are mobile. So the customer is changing. The customer is digital. The customer wants to know the enterprise by his own smartphone, to connect to a brand by a smartphone. Okay, your customer is digital, so you have to transform yourself to be able to. It is the digital transformation, my definition of the digital transformations. Christian, is it an answer for your question?
Yes, absolutely. That's very good. It's also very good because it nicely ties to the academic literature, the academic research that has been studying what they call the productivity paradox since the 1970s, where Robert Solow, who later on became a Nobel laureate for studying economic growth, and he said in the 1980s you can see the computer age everywhere but in productivity statistics. And then it took research quite a bit to figure out that there's actually these types of complementary investments that you're talking about when you said, the transformation part is much bigger than the digital part, to understand that there's always a lag when a new technology arrives. People just have to figure out how to make it useful inside the organization for it to really sort of deliver on the benefits that it proposed. And that's what I also put in the chat for everybody to have a look at. So
thank you. Okay.
On spot.
Okay. And to sum up my purpose today, to animate this digital transformation around the company, it's to aware, to evangelize the company, to understand these definitions. My job is firstly to recall this definition and to say, you have to handle a transformation. Your transformation. You will decide what you want to do. But if you don't understand it is a transformation, you will add some IT systems or digital systems or gimmick in your company, robots. But if it is not linked to your business model and to your digital transformation of your business, your transformation of your business model, you will face trouble. And it's why companies, traditional companies, are facing a lot of trouble regarding digital transformations, because it's complex to change. For myself, for you, for a company, it's complex to change. And we'll see some area of this change right now. The challenge for the traditional company. As I start to say, I love to work with traditional company, especially in the watchmaker industry, very traditional industry, very beautiful industry with very beautiful products and very, very, very traditional. And it's why it's very too funny to have exchange with this area, because they know about digital issues, digital problematic, but they don't really like it. So it's a ping pong between the industry and the reality that we have to engage to be sure that everybody is increasing. So it's a very, very beautiful industry. I have a lot of customers in the watchmaker industry, and I love to animate this industry. Very, very traditional. And as I said at the beginning, since I am not a digital native, I don't want to transform the company to become digital all over. I just want to say, there are the digital stake. What do you want to do with that? It's your choice. But I will present you the stakes. And I will try to present you the stakes for a company and how the company try to react on that. Sorry, it's not a beautiful slide, but for me, it's useful to explain. On the right part, you have the stakes. Digital technology in all aspects of the human society. First of all, it is the customer. The customer is changing. The customer, you and me, we are becoming more and more digital. We are connected, we are mobile. It's new customers. So to answer that, the enterprise has to implement a strategy, a digital strategy, a digital culture, some human resource and organizational impact, etc., etc. And what is very, very funny, the contact points, the new contact points between a company and a customer, it's some digital system. We can say IT system if we speak like 20 years ago. It's technical subject. So the new point of contact between a company, a brand, and a customer, we are more and more digital subject. And it's why here the first, not the first, but a big subject I animate in the company, it is a transformation of the IT department. In Switzerland, clearly, IT departments are here to run IT software since years and years. If new components between enterprise and customer are digital components, IT component, the IT department have to transform itself to be able to be here, to drive a part of the digital transformation of the company. And to be very transparent and very clear, it's still a challenge for IT director or CIO of the company. I was CIO, I know it's not an easy job, and to say, yes, I have to steer something to change the spirit in my company. And here we created some model called bimodal IT. I don't know if you know this word, but it's to say that IT have to transform itself, first of all, to be able to make his traditional work, to run system, but also to be very innovative. It is not the same skill. It is not the same people. It is not the same organizations. It's why we created bimodal IT to be able to answer this state. So, first of all, the contact between a customer and an enterprise could be by an IT system, a digital system. So you have to transform your IT. Marketing people are here. I think that in your intervention, you will have a lot of people coming from communication. Marketing people go ahead on that. On digital communication, they are very, very good on that. But be careful, digitalization is not only communicate by digital, it's to bring your services by digital. So marketing people are far away on the digital world. IT are a little one behind. On human resources, I will speak on that, are very far away. But if you take my definitions, transformation for human being, the first take is about how HR people will handle digital transformations, and clearly they are sleeping. Human resources said that it is not my job to transform, to handle the digital topics. So the second part of my job in the company is to create awareness about human resources, how you have transformed yourself to be able to serve digital transformation stack and to reorganize the company. And I will show you how we handle this kind of transformations. And of course, the company have to create a customer experience, the famous customer journey, to be able to know the customer at each point of contact between the company and the customers. So they have to build customer journey to be able to know very well the customer. And of course, this new customer journey will bring a lot of change in the company. It is the digital transformation for business. So the stakes are external. They push to the enterprise, to the company, and the enterprise, the company have to transform itself to be able to answer the stakes. What is changing? 3 pillars. First pillar, the customer change. But the employee also change. And we'll see with few topics that it's a big issue for the company. And the third pillar, we have some newcomers in the market. What is a newcomers? A new entrant offers that will use technology to create a direct contact between professional and customer. In watchmaker industry, for example, it's what we call the second hand. We have some huge marketplace able to sell very beautiful watches, second hand watches, and the projection of increasing of this business is more than the traditional business. As a new customer, I want to own a very beautiful watches. I don't want to buy a new one because it's expensive, so I will acquire a second hand watches. And the new entrants will be very present in the digital area, so the brand could disappear behind the new entrant, for example. So in the watchmaking industry, it's very often we can see that. What are some customer change? Clearly, the company have to adapt the code to the code of the new generations and in relationship with the brand. First of all, the new generation, the digital generations, is more on services less product. I want to have online services. I don't want to buy a product. Second topics, more on they are not really on the transmission. They don't want to acquire something for years and years. They want to leave something in real times. And more in the sharing economy than in the possessions. This slide was did for watchmaker industry. So you can say, what does it mean for watchmaker industry? It means that if I sell traditional products for a long time, I will face a stake about that. So the customer change. Second change, the employee change. And I will use exactly the same sentence. Need to adapt to the code of the new generations and in relationships within the brand. Why it is exactly the same sentence for an employee than for a customer? Because the employee want to have a new relationship with his brand, for example. He will want to personalize its journey with the company and with less about loyalties. The new generations will change 80 times a job during his life. My generations changed 3, 4, 5 times. The new generation will change 18 times his job. So every 2 years, the new generation will change a job in the company. For example, when I joined the HEC group, we have some gold medal because you are here since 30 years or 20 years. And it's finished this time. If you stay 30 years in the same job, in the same company, you are not a good guy. You have to change. So the relationship between the employee and the brand is also changing. And second topic, very important, the people can speak very easily about their brand. For example, I assisted a meeting by a director of human resources in the watchmaker industry, very famous. He said that I cannot control the expression of my customer in the digital network. They can say what they want on my brand. So it's new. So I have to animate that. I have to take control of that. It's what we call that the marketing part of the company, the internal marketing part of the company. How I sell my company to my employees. So the customer change, the employee change. For newcomers, you have to handle a change in your company. It is the third part of my presentations, how the company reacts about this changing area. 40 minutes, you want to make a pause right now, Christian, before to start this part, or you want to?
Yeah, let's see if there are any questions first. Because you guys have been unusually quiet today. I'm sure there are some questions.
Can I?
Yes, please go ahead, Lisa.
Okay. So hello, Mr. Protais. I had 2 questions, but the first one is about the numbers you showed us in the beginning of your presentation about the users of internet or people connected by mobile. And I don't know from when did you take those numbers, but do you think they increased or they will increase because of the COVID? You know, we are online classes, we are working on home office, and I'm just asking, maybe you can answer, I don't know, if you know if those numbers will increase in the future.
Clearly, the figures came before the COVID crisis. You're true. So I guess they are not very accurate, clearly. But the trend is here, and the increasing is here. For example, I was within some companies during the crisis, and all the companies have to connect a lot of people in real time by Skype, by what is the tool here? Zoom,
yeah.
And so all company deploy a lot of connections, and I don't know the figure on that, but clearly we are not at the end of the increasing path of this figure. You're true, yeah, of course. I am not an analyst, so I am not able to give you some figures about what will be the futures, but clearly COVID changed a part of the game. Clearly. Regarding the for example, very simple. I was in a watchmaker industry during the COVID crisis. It was impossible to work at home. Impossible from a day to another. everybody start to work at home. And right now, after the crisis, not at the end of the crisis, but they have the right to work at home, for example. So clearly the COVID crisis changed a lot within the traditional company.
Okay, thank you. And maybe I can ask the second question right now. Maybe you will answer later, I don't know. It's about the risks, the risk linked to the data. We almost know what we are risking when we are connected. I mean, companies can lose the data of the clients. And I was asking myself, what do your company put in place to avoid as much as possible those risks?
Good questions. Risk about data and especially personal data. So I will not speak about that because it's a huge world. But the company have to take care of data. They have to be GDPR. I don't know if you know GDPR, but it's the European rules to be able to respect some rules. When you collect personal data, you have to respect some rules. And all company right now, if they are collecting data about people, have to have a DPO, a data privacy officer, who take care of the respect of the rule. I will not present you that today, but for me, you can handle that by the risk vigilance. If you are not GDPR compliant, you have a risk of to pass something or to be not accurate on the market, etc. But I try to animate that on customer side in that it's also an image of the quality of the brand. If you respect your client, your customer, you have to respect their data. And you have to be fair. And I love animate data ethics subject. And I love to animate what you will do with the customer of your data. We can spend 20 hours about the discussion of are the GAFAM fair with the data of the customer? For me, no. It's a huge debate. Huh? But you have to be fair, and it's a way of the company to prove to their customer that they are fair with them. To take care of the data of your customer, it's a way of to be a good firm today, right now. For me, it's a big, big subject. And if you are not happy with the firm that are not fair with your data, you can stop the services. For example, myself, I close some social media accounts. It's my choice. I say no. I will not give my data to this guy. I am not happy with that. So I close my account. So I guess it will be a very big subject during the following years. So GDPR here in Switzerland, we have the same rules, pretty the same rules. Loi sur la protection des données. But yes, it's a big topic, and I am not an expert of that.
Okay, thank you for your answers. I was answering this because sometimes, I mean, not sometimes, but really often we are not aware about the consequence of giving data to companies. And we saw this problem with Facebook a few years ago, and we saw it again a few days ago with mesvaccins.ch here in Switzerland. They lost some data, and yeah. So I was asking for that. Thank you for answers.
You're true. It's a huge subject, and some companies are afraid to use data for this subject because they don't want to lose data, etc. So you have to be very careful with that. It's a huge subject. Yeah, you're true.
Thank you.
And it's very funny that people like you and me, we are not happy to give data to our state, but very happy to give to the GAFAM. It's funny. So we live in a strange world about that. Huh? Big debate.
Yes.
If I may ask a question.
Yes, please.
We did the pause before.
Go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. I was wondering, as person, people say that it's impossible not to communicate, and we find a little bit of the same trend as we go online, as we use digital programs or everything. We leave data because we have certain patterns, we follow certain patterns. And I was wondering if this effort to find these new patterns that are currently developing, changing, and so on, is an effort made by the enterprise of consulting like yours, or it comes more on the demand of the different enterprise to which you give the consultation?
It depends. I have no. It's not to transform. To develop patterns, and that is not my job of day to day. My job is not to accompany companies. Once again, I want to comment on that. I don't recommend to my customers to go on this world. I recommend to my customers to know this world, to choose the path they want to follow. It's very, very important. It's not mandatory to become digital, but it's mandatory to answer ourselves what are the stakes. What are the stakes? What is my reaction? It's very, very important. It's not mandatory to sell online. It's not mandatory to collect data about your customer. It's your choice, but you have to be aware of the subject of that. And to be very clear on the pattern, etc., we have some huge experts on that, with a lot of data scientists working on that. But in real companies, the companies are very weak on that, to be clear. So only 30% of the data of a company is used right now to be transformed into value. So the traditional company are very far away from their capacities, their real capacity to use data to know their customer, etc. We are very, very far away. So the data is very, very underused in the company, to be clear. Even for the GAFAM, yes, for the very digital company, yes, but the traditional company are very, very far away of this kind of behavior regarding the data pattern.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. If I may, you had a slide with some percentages and the people using internet and so on. You were talking about 55% of the human race being urbanized. How did you, or can you just define in 1-2 sentences maybe, what do you mean by urbanized? Big cities with more than 100,000 people, or?
Very good question. I don't know. I will come back on the figure. Modernize. It's not coming from my company. Urbanization, you want to say urbanization?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, it is people living in city. For me, it's people living in city. Yes, I guess. Once again, this is a study. It's a big study. I very often use. You can use it because we have about 100 pages of figures, so it's very powerful to know the tendency, etc., etc. And clearly, for me, urbanized here, it's people living in city, I guess.
Okay. You were comparing the data to oil. So in some sort, you're saying that it will run out one day, or is it limitless?
Very good question. Good question today. It's unlimited. Oil is limited. Why we this image of data in oil? Several reasons. If you take the more valuable company 30 years ago, it was oil company. If you take more valuable company today, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, the Baidu in Chinese, etc., etc. It is data company. It is the first reason to use this oil image. 30 years ago, oil companies, right now, GAFAM. Second image, oil without work on the oil to transform into something is nothing. You have to transform your oil to run engine. And the engine of valorization, it is the artificial intelligence, etc. It is the subject of that. So we have to transform your oil to create power. It is the second way. And third way, if you own oil or data, you have a value. And my message today to the company is you have a lot of data and you don't use it. So you have You have oil, but you don't use it. But of course, you're true. These pictures have some limits, and data are unlimited. Our capacity to store data are unlimited with the cloud solutions, unlimited.
Okay, yes. Then it's on other symbols, not on the limit of how we can use it. Okay.
Yeah.
You're also saying that the first step is the change in culture, that it has to be accepted that there is a possibility to go a more digital way. Let's say it like this. How do you approach it?
I will present you.
Or maybe you'll show it later. I don't exactly know. Or do you show it later?
I will show it later.
Okay. Then maybe I'll ask the question in the end.
Yeah.
And you were also talking about job changes, 18 times for the newcomers, for us.
Yeah.
Is it between companies, or changes in the company itself also counted? Maybe from intern to junior to senior to maybe, I don't know.
Change job. So can be between two companies, or change job in one company. If you come from junior to senior, you don't change job. If you come from analysis to I don't know, but you see what I mean? Change job, new job. You have to know that the average turnover in the GAFAM are less than 2 years. So if you want to go in Google, you will stay less than 2 years. So the turnover is huge in this company. In traditional company, it's 10 years, 15 years. I don't know the average, but your generation will change job. So your daily activity 80 times. It's very funny for me. Very funny.
Okay, thank you.
And passionating for you. It's very interesting for you. You have to learn a lot of things. Congratulations. Your life will be beautiful.
Panagiotis, you had a question.
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to ask to go back to the watch industry that you mentioned before. So we see companies that they are willing to do changes in terms of marketing and to digitalize the whole process. However, on the product design, the luxury watchmakers, they still try to keep this the same business model. So in order to change it, you have to integrate an ecosystem with platforms and other technological advancements. So my question is it that they insist to keep the traditional business model because of this big change that they have to do, or is it another reason? And if yes, how big is this change to integrate a new ecosystem with many platforms that they have to analyze a lot of data?
It's a very complex question. With some automatization, or a simple example, I am a watchmaker. I build beautiful watch. For example, I can use artificial intelligence by image recognition to verify the quality of my product, for example. Very simple. And I will replace a guy doing that right now. So I will decrease my cost. Why not? But a watchmaker can choose to say, my watch is an art watch made by people. And it's my brand image. So I choose to check all my checking point of quality by people, because the human being is a human being, and at the end you will have a personal object, not done by computer, for example. It's a debate. The increasing of the quality of the rentability of the productions versus the human watch, the human people doing human watch. And in its industry, watchmaker industry, it's a debate. How we can increase our quality, but remaining watch do by men or people when women do it. So it's a debate. Very funny one. For my part, my deep belief is we have to maintain a big part of manual activity in this area, because it is the heart of the expertise. A guy doing a watch will push in this watch a little one of his personality. Perhaps the piece will not be perfect, but it will be a very, very small mistake by a human people, so it creates value for the watch. It's my vision, it's a personal vision, but it's a big, big debate around matchmaker industry. And it's a good question. So you can participate to the debate. Huh? I have no answer on that. It's an open question.
Okay. I asked you mainly because of your experience, and it seemed that you have worked a lot. So you heard the opinions and the thoughts of people in the upper management in the Swiss luxury watchmakers, and it's something really interesting because I also saw similar debates. And but thank you very much for your reply.
Yeah. But for me, you can work on digitalization in watchmaker industry, working on other topics. For example, watch industry work a lot on traceability by blockchain. So why not for the watch? You sell a watch, and the watch will be exchanged by several people. You want to have the vision who sell to who, etc. Blockchain is a very beautiful and modern subject, and you don't change the product, for example. So it is not because you have not to work with the production of your product with digital that you have not a lot of subject to handle with digital, for example. And for watchmaker industry, I deeply believe that the traceability of the product is very, very important to, for example, when a guy buy a new product or a second-hand product, to be certified that this product is a real one, and the brand certifies the product, the blockchain is able to do that, for example. So for this kind of topics, watch industry have to be modern and to work on that, for example. It's a simple example.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Then I would like to ask one, and then you're free for your break. In that, can you go back one slide, please, Benjamin?
Back.
The one about this one. So when I saw that, I was wondering whether sort of the key takeaway of the slide is that the IT department is increasing its importance in the organization, and it should move up in the organizational structure. And basically, IT is everything. It used to be the guys that bring the computers, and now it's the guys that are important for everything in the company. Would you agree with that?
I am an older CIO, so I try job. No, it's a job, but no. For me, clearly, the CIO of a brand has to be part right now of the people who are building the strategy of the brand, because they are able to participate to a visions, because they know all the innovation about digital very well. And in the IT department, you have huge skills about our capacity to build something new with digital. And clearly in Switzerland, and especially in Normandy, the IT guys are not here. So I try to animate this debate to say you have to change your positions. You have to upskill your department, and you have to be co-constructor to be here at the digital strategy. Yes. And each time I animate that, if I am the people who can decide something, I built a CIO IT department 2.0. Each time I do that, because you have to rebuild your department to work more closely with the business, to challenge the business, to increase your skill, to increase your digital skill, etc., etc. So a part of the transformation, it is not the whole transformation, to be clear, but a big part, it is the B-model IT, and I work on that. And since I am a former CIO, I know the complexity of the job. It is not an easy job, clearly, and I am able to help IT guy to transform themselves.
Awesome, thanks. Before we continue, Benjamin, I saw that in the chat there's another question. Maybe you can. Do you see the chat?
The chat. Who is the chat? Where is the chat?
Or maybe Paul, you can just unmute yourself and ask the question directly.
I was asking during the digital transformation illustration drawing, you were talking about HR departments and also marketing departments, and you said that they seemed to be late in the transformation, digital transformation standards. And I was quite surprised by marketing, because digital marketing doesn't seem to be late in the digital transformation way. And not only for communication, but also they use data like CRM, and also they use the CEO, search engine optimization, and so on. So could you explain your assumption, please?
If I said that is a mistake, sorry. Human resource department is late, clearly. Marketing department is not late. You're deeply true. The more advanced department in a company are the marketing department, the sales department. Clearly, no, you're deeply true. No, it's the marketing department is a more advanced regarding the skills, the way of working with digital. With all the digital marketing is very, very, very advanced, and they are very good in the usage of data with the customer of knowledge, for example, the knowledge of the customer. Yeah, you talk. You know, if I said marketing department is late, it's a mistake. Clearly, human resource department is more late.
Okay, so maybe I didn't get it well. Sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't see the chat. I don't know why. Where is the chat?
Never mind. I managed the queue for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So why don't we continue?
Continue. The question about cultures. It's a huge subject, the culture, and it is not an easy way. So I will try to introduce. I have no magic answer, clearly, but I will show you how we can try to animate it. First of all, as I already said, the cultural issue are the more difficult barriers. I don't find my word. Sorry. The complexity to go ahead. Cultural issue is the first topic at the top of the complexity of the digital transformations. Far away, archaic system, lack of skill, etc. Culture. So when we speak about culture and digital culture, what is a digital culture? It's very funny that we can try to list what does it mean, digital culture. We will find some keywords. First of all, innovation. Very important. The company have to increase their capacity to innovate with digital. Second topic, we'll speak after that, data-driven decisions, to take decisions based on data. It was the introduction. We'll speak about data decisions just after us. And collaborations, open cultures, it's clearly the work of collaboration within the company. So we have to invent new model of collaborations. You know that traditional companies are very pyramidal regarding the organizations. We have to invent new way to collaborate and to open culture to work as partner. Digital first-minded, of course, we have to be open to the digital. Agility and flexibility, it's a huge stake for companies. The startups are very, very agile. The traditional companies are deeply not agile. So our capacity to be more and more agile and to be customer-centric. What does it mean? It means know very well the customer of the company to be able to give them the good product. So it's a huge subject for the company. What is very funny, it's not a long list regarding digital skills. It's a long list regarding cultural skills. Let's go ahead. I guess you know this guy. Perhaps it was 20, 22 years old. And this guy is a guy from the GAFAM world changing the rule of the game. It's Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. I guess at the beginning of Facebook here, he is very young. And this guy come with this culture. what if you start to sum up the culture, very complexity, but this culture love to break the rules, hacking. They love to hacking. If we can list very quick hacking, the hacking of decisions. It was an old motto, but don't care. It is a part of the cultures. Code wins arguments. You don't have to prove me something by the slideware. You have to show me something by POC, proof of concept, by building a maquette, by building something I can see. Okay, you have to prove me by the code. It's a decision making, how I take decision within the company. Teamworks, the Bezos rules, very funny. To be creative, a team have to be no larger than 1 or 2 pizza. You know, 2 pizza are able to fit them. So if you make a meeting with 2 pizza, you have to so it's you are a big guy, you can work alone, huh? But just think that you have to decrease the size of your working group. And last topic coming from Google, you have to have a flat hierarchy. And we will say at the end of the presentations, the traditional hierarchy, you have a lot of steps in your hierarchy, big boss, etc., etc. You have a lot. On this kind of hierarchy, you have to be more flat. So the capacity to exchange information, to take decisions are changing. So you can see that the digital culture are changing the rule of the game regarding the organization of the company. How we animate that? I come back to my human resource department, the department I prefer. When I start a mission in a company, I start by animating this kind of stuff. Digital lunch and learn. What is it, digital lunch and learn? It's a model where every week during the lunchtime, I animate for all the human resource department some training sessions, awareness sessions, presentation sessions to increase their knowledge about digital transformation skills. For example, this kind of presentations, I can do this kind of presentation for HR people. So to try to animate the culture of the people from human resource department to say, yes, digital transformation is also your topic. So we animate in the organizations by training human resource, saying that you are at the heart of the digital transformations. And at the beginning, each time say, no, it's not for us. For marketing, for IT department, human resource, our job is to manage people. We don't care about digital. Yes, you have to care about digital because it's your job, because it's a change management transformation. So we animate that. First example. Second example, very funny. If you come back on this world, on this up, collaboration and open cultures. It's very funny when you will join a company, if you are able to assist to one executive committee, that it's very a traditional way of working. And it's very a political subject. So we try to coach this executive committee, saying that you have to be more at your level to give example for your employee, and you have to be more collaborative at your level. And for that, we can use several ways to animate that. And I love this one, what we call the feedback culture. What is the feedback culture? During one executive committee sessions, we request a coach, and the coach will observe the meeting, and at the end, it will say, from this guy, I don't understand what you said, or this guy, I guess you don't tell the truth. It's a feeling, but I give you my visions on the meeting. It is the first part. On the second part of this kind of animations, we coach people, and during the meeting, one member of the meeting will give feedback to the other member. Very, very, very strange. What is the target of that? To take the habit to be observed and to give feedback to the people and to say, Paul, Martin, Jean, I am not confident with what you said, because during this political meeting, we don't have the thing. And in the digital culture, we say the thing. So the target is to train general manager to learn to say the thing. Very funny. It's very funny that with the digital culture, we have to increase the collaboration spirit into the company. And for that, we train executive committee to do it. It's very strange for the company. It's a huge transformation for the company. It's very, very important, because you can say the truth. You can say, I'm not happy with you, I'm not agree with you, and you start to exchange at this level. So the feedback culture, to animate the feedback cultures, it's a big subject in the company. Third example, we try to break silos. I just to put you a very simple example about data management. We will speak about data management later in the presentations. That's in the company, you have the CIO, the IT director, a new role called CDO for Chief Data Officer. The Chief Data Officer is a guy in the company able to handle all the data strategy of the company. And the business is a traditional business, for example, marketing. And when we launch an initiative on data, we said that all the work will not be done services by services, but with a triptism. The CDO, Chief Data Officer, the CIO, and the business, for example, the marketing manager. And all the decisions will be taken by 3 people. And exactly the same thing at operational level. If you have to build a data science algorithm, for example, we will work with 3 people: a data scientist, the guy who will work on mathematical algorithm, the data engineer, the guy who will bring data to feed the algorithm, and the business guy, for example, the guy from marketing, who have a subject to handle. And each work will be done by 3 people. So what does it mean? For each of this kind of subjects, we work with a triptism. And it's very important that the decision has been done by 3 people and not by 1 people. So we start to break the silo within the company. It is a third layer of working on the culture of the company. One company, Spotify, you know Spotify, the online music company, built a model based on that, the allocratic model. And it's very funny that they, like Google, they want to break the silo and they want to break the hierarchy in the company. So they define a model called Spotify model or allocratic model, that the unit for work is a squad on the left part of the screen. It's a primary unit to work. Each work will be done by squad, like a project. And what is very, very new, the squad is autonomous to self-organize itself. The general manager of the company just gives the visions. How to reach the visions, the squad do what they want. It's an organizational topic. And it's long-term missions. You have to build something. After you have other organizations by tribes, it's a sum of a squad, etc., etc. But just keep in mind that this kind of company start to be organized not by service and hierarchy, but by project subject, squad per squad. So it's very important that the decisions are not took by the general manager, but by the squad itself. And you have just to reach your goal. For example, my companies started to be organized as a Spotify model. I am a tribe leader, and I am not manager of the people of my tribe. I cannot say you have to do that, you have to do that. I manage 0 person, but I animate a lot of person. So it clearly changed my mind. So I am not a manager. I am no more a manager. I am a community animator. It's breaking the way of managing, because I am not able to say, I don't want, I want. I have to animate. So it's very funny to start to work in this kind of hierarchy, this way of working, because it changed the rule of the game. It is not the paradise, but it's clearly learned to work as a team and to be very solidaire. So it's a very funny way of working. So a lot of companies right now start to try to work like that, to open an allocratic way of working. It's just an introduction. You can have a look on that because your generation love this way of working by squad. It's very important that you know the rule of the game of the squad to be sure that when you join a company, you will be in this kind of company, yes or no. So how your company is organized, very important. So I let you with this work organization. But this way of organization is clearly breaking silos and work together and to be organized with a squad. So it was my first topics about cultures. Last topic about cultures, it's my day-to-day life. Companies are overwhelmed by the activities. They have a daily activities. The watchmaker companies have to conceptualize, build, sales, watch. They don't have time to be transformed. And my job is to start to animate a transformation, but the people in front of me, they don't have time. They have to produce watch. So you're a good guy, Benjamin, but we don't have time. We have to produce watch. And every company are facing to a challenge regarding a transformation, how I will react to something, but are fully busy with their daily job. So it's a big stake for all company to take time to transform something. And it's 100% of the people have the same problematics. So you have to be able to focalize people in the transformation in the company and to focalize people in the daily routine to be sure that the things are changing. So you have to organize yourself to be sure that people are engaged in the transformation. If you request from all the guys working for the company to transform the company, they don't have time. So our capacity to have time to transform the company, it's a big stake for the company. So few ideas like that on the animation of the culture. I give you some idea. It is not a global plan to transform company, but I just give you some inputs about how we handle the transformation within the company. Do you have some question about animation of the culture?
I think you're good.
Okay, so let's go in the last part. Data. So is a big part of my time to implement data strategy, and I will start to give you. We have 15 minutes, I guess. No, what is
more like 10-11 minutes?
Yeah. Okay. It will be short. It's not my time, but I will start. So data. I said that we have a lot of data. People generate a lot of data, and all companies have to answer a very simple questions. How is my company's business model affected by data valorization? I already said that to you. Only 30% of data are used within the company to be transformed into value, to use to serve the business model. So all the companies have to start to be more and more data-driven, to use data to take decisions, for example. What does it mean to use data? It's leveraging in data for doing his business better, right, more on you. Better, I do the same work, but with data, I'm able to be more productive, for example. Right, I use data to be more compliant. More, I create new services, for example. More, I better know my customer, for example. So I increase my intimacy with my customer. And for new, I create new services for data. And we can sum up all this subject by using this word to use data as a business asset within the company. I already said that, only 30% of data are used in the company. How we animate that? Working on 3 pillars. You have to become data-driven. You have to take your data and transform into value, into knowledge. And for that, you have to work on 3 pillars. First of all, define the what. Why is my company's business model affected by data valorizations? Why do you want to use data? If you are a very traditional company, you, for example, you build watches. How and what, for what part of your business model you will use data? Clearly, I answer very clearly for watchmaker industry, you have to use data to well know your customer. Who is buying your watches? How many watches earn a guy buying new watch in your company, etc., etc. And personalize the relationship between the brand and the customer. Second layer, how you will organize your company. You have to implement what we call the data governance layer to implement a layer to govern your data. I will detail it just after. Third layer on the how, data architecture. You have to build a very powerful data subject. I will present you that a few minutes later. You have to build an IT system able to collect all the data to be valorized. And last topic, you have to use your data. You have to valorize, to show, to share your data, to transform your data into assets. So it's a global business transformation to be data-driven. And you have to work on 4 layers, define the data strategy of the company, how I will use data to make my job better on you, right, and more. How I will be organized to use my data, how my data will be organized, which is the data architecture, and what are the services I want to implement. It is the theoretical part. So you have to be organized. And to be clear, the company, they have a lot of job to reach this target, to be on the top on the 4 layers. Let's explain just a few minutes on what does it mean create data services. If we take an example of a company who sell product, clearly the selling of the product already created what we call physical trace in the company. In means that the data are in the company, and get means that you created data in the company. For example, I guess we have the example when you have a purchase online, when you have a store purchase, when you have a call, an after sales call, you collect data, you have some traces, internal traces, you know this data. It is the first part, the data in the company, and you get this data. The second part, it is all the digital trace of your customer. It's get, you inquire data, but coming from out of your company. For example, it is the cookies, the beacons, the social network traces, all the traces you are able to collect from your customers. And if you are able to reconcile these 2 traces, the knowledge of your customer and the behavioring of your customer internally, and the behavioring of your customer externally, you know very well your customers. And if you make the matrix between the physical transaction and the digital trace, you are able to have a very beautiful vision of who is your customer and what is his activity. When you do that, after you create some pattern, the famous pattern explorations. You make some analysis and you use this data internally to know your customer. And the last subject, you use how you are able to sell to our customer a very personalized services, for example. So you collect data, internal, external, you analyze data, and you reuse data to give to your customer a personal services. It's what we call the butterfly effect of the usage of data. It's very traditional within the company that you use this butterfly effect in order to be able to transform information, data, into value. It is a data strategy of the company. To come back from the questions, the marketing department of the modern company are very advanced on that. They are very able to do that because on all the internal traces, they have the data, and they collect a lot of data coming from all our digital activities. And if they're able to transform into analysis and then actions, they have the butterfly effect. I will speak very quickly on that. And for a company, the goal is to know very, very well his customer, to store a lot of information about his customers. We know that GAFAM do it very well. Some company can do it very well. Once again, it's very important to be ethical on that. If I collect information from you, it's for give you a personal services you want to have. So I request your authorization to do that. If I know you very well, I will be able to draft a personal services you will like. Do you want these personal services? Okay, I will collect data to do that. And very quickly, we collect a lot of data about our customers, and we are able to collect a lot of data. It's why what we call a customer data hub. Customer data hub. It is all the information about the company. If you want to play a game, request to Twitter or Facebook or Google all the personal information they have, they collect to you. It's mandatory, they have to do it. Request them, and you will see that they are very powerful customer data, very, very powerful customer data. Very quickly, it's the perfect marketing digital information system. It's very complex. You will say, it's crazy, this guy. Just to say that this very complex system is based on 3 big pillars. First pillar, the famous customer data hub. All the collections of information about customer. And when you have that, you are able to connect your customers by all what we call the marketing automation activity. Send email, send notification, send notification on your website, etc., etc. So you have to be able to connect your customers with all the channels they want to be connected. So to give him information at the right moment of the right channel. So if you know very well your customer, you are able to do that. And after, you are able to give to your customer what we called an integrated marketing journey. For example, when you will arrive on the website of the company, you will have your page. If I go to the web page of the company, I will have one page. If some of you go on the web page of the company, you will have a personal web page regarding its men, women, how old are you, what is your, what do you like in the real life, what is your activity, etc., etc. So it will personalize your activity. To do that, we have a component called a data lake. What is a data lake? Data lake is a huge platform. It's a platform able to store huge amount of data, really huge amount of data. What we call the data from operational system of the company, all the unstructured data, all the social network data, all the IoT data, connect data, all the data we are starting to create month after month. So they're able to collect huge data. And with the new data platform, we are able to use it in real time to give you real-time answer regarding your activity on a website, etc. So the company are starting to build data lake. Of course, the GAFAM build data lake since years, but the traditional companies are starting to build data lake to well know their customer and to give to the customer a real interaction. I know you, so I give you a personalized services. So it's pretty modern platforms, and all the companies are increasing their skills about data subjects. And data lake can be used also for all the data science subject. I'm pretty sure that you already heard about the data scientist job. I take data, I run mathematical algorithm, and I transform data into value. So the data lake is a new data platform within the company, and all the company try to have a very powerful data lake right now. I am very quick to answer. To finish them.
Since he froze, he was talking about the butterfly effect. Can we link that to your indirect network effects?
I think so, yes. To some extent we can, yes. If we think about, oh no, I left completely. So when we think about the butterfly effect in terms of adding value as you add additional elements to some kind of system, then yes, I think these concepts are related. Good question. Yeah. Then I'll ask if there are further questions, if you have another minute or so, and can stick around.
Yes, I would like to go back again because your slides and your presentation were very convincing. So if I had a company that I had to, let's say, make a digital transformation, you could convince me with the benefits of the data collection and how to analyze everything. And also we know many business models that companies are succeeding by following. For example, I remember a case that Ant Financials, which is in China, if you are aware of it, they have 16,000 employees with, I believe, 2-point-something trillion assets under management, while Bank of America has 200,000 employees with half of these assets under management. So I'm trying to understand here if this resistance of the digital transformation is coming from the hesitation and the resistance of people in management, because as you said, and I really agree that it's coming from a cultural change that we have to go through in order to transform the business. And since there are these examples of companies who are succeeding based on this model, I'm trying to identify another reason that there is this resistance exists. So I would like to ask again, as I asked before, how big of the change is for a company to make this transformation? Because since there are examples, and there are, best examples that everybody would like to follow, there must be something that gives this kind of, decline. And I can only imagine the high cost of the transformation, or the, as you said before, that you have to pay employees more because they have to overperform, or they have to work more in order to do both simultaneously. So my question is, how big of a change it is for an already traditional company, and not a company that starts from the beginning? And I imagine that it's a completely different process.
It's a very good question, clearly. And if I know well the answer, I will be very rich. So it is not the case. No, very interesting questions. It's huge. The transformation is huge and complex. And of course, when Slideware doesn't transform a company. So when I present Slideware to my customers, okay, we want to go. But you have to change the culture of the company and the day-to-day life of a lot of people within the company. And the people don't want to change. You and me, we don't want to change. We have our habits. We are very happy with our habit, with our job. We don't want to change our job. It's a human being traditional behavioring. So what does it mean? It means that for me, we have only one chance to succeed if the GM, the general manager of the company, understand the stakes and want to go ahead. And for me, they understand 30, 40, 50% of the transformations, and they want to go ahead 30, 50, 60. And it's why it's complex. Why it's complex also? Because if you are not in risk with short term, what do you want to change? For watchmaker industry, for the Swiss made industry, the risk is not very high. if you are in a sector that you have a lot of concurrence regarding digital, you will go ahead very quickly and will be pushed by the pressure. But for some traditional company, the risk is not very huge. In middle term, I don't know. But in short term, sure, not high. So if you have a big transformation and a small pressure by the market, you don't want to go ahead. And it is the actual situation of numerous company. It's why I said to this company, you have time. You have just to understand the stake. And if the stakes are very clear, you have to choose your direction. You do what you want. But you have to understand the stake and the time to answer. It's your job. It's your job to choose the way you want to go. And once again, the transformation is important. So we are, for me, at the beginning of the transformations. And I guess it will take 10, 15, 20 years to see the finalization of the transformation. And I said to all CDO, Chief Digital Officer, that I am coaching, that they will not see the end of the journey. They will start the journey. And my job is to start the journey, to animate the culture, to start the journey. I will not see the end of the journey because I am 47 years old. So I'm pretty sure that I will not see. You will see something I will not see. And I hope something else. Yeah. So it's a long journey.
I'm really sorry for interrupting you. Just, do you believe that it's mostly a matter of high cost, or mostly a matter of the change? You know, the corporation in the Latin word is coming from the word corpus, which means a body. So it's also very, very fun because it doesn't exist, but we give it this, and eventually it will die if we don't treat it in a good way. So is adjourning or postponing the change eventually will come to death.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with ecology, or we know that we have to change and nobody change. Okay. Everybody know that the rule of the game is changing, but nobody want to change. So we continue and we make little change, step by step. But I'm not sure it is the cost. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. Of course, the cost is an important point, but I'm not sure it's the cost. I'm pretty sure that the complexity is you and me. We don't want to change. Yes. Because we are human beings. We don't like to change. We are very happy with our life. Exactly the same thing about ecology. We know that it's nonsense to behavior like we behavior, but we continue with the very little change.
And this is coming back to the Swiss watchmakers, that eventually, now that at the end of our discussion, if we explore what we said, where the managers and the board of directors are usually in the age of over 60, I can imagine that it's even more difficult for them to change.
Yeah, you're true. I cannot give you some name of the brand, but we have two different watchmaker manager, very young and pretty old. And the very young are very pushy regarding this message, very, very pushy, because they say we have to change. But in the watchmaker industry, the GM are traditionally not very young, to say politically correct, and very traditional, and they said, I don't want to change. Globally, I don't want to change.
I know for sure that Tag Heuer has a product of smartwatch, but there are other companies, competitors, who are resisting to even put a product on their portfolio of something similar. Yeah. Which is apparently what you said, regarding the people that's under management.
The new boss of the brand you mentioned is 23, 24 years old. He's a very young guy, and he's very pushy for that. For example, I am not a watchmaker or strategist, but I'm not sure that the connected watch is the future of it's the digital future of watchmaker industry. It's a good subject to go ahead. Why not? But I'm pretty sure that it's not the future. because the GAFAM will be the best on that, because they are able to transform data into services, and it is not the job of the watchmaker. But it's a personal opinion. I am not a strategist of a watchmaker, but it's a long debate.
It's as you said before, experience matters nowadays, not the possession. So
Yeah.
This is what we are all looking for. Okay, thank you very much for the presentation and for your feedback.
My pleasure.
Well, I also join you in thanking Benjamin. I'm sure you have lots of other things to do, and probably your email inbox is overflowing while you're speaking to us. So thank you once again so much for your time and for sharing your experience. This was very insightful and very interesting. Thank you so much.